Hi, River. Today we're doing drop spindles. Alright, caliper's actually, this is the 88 model. It's 3/8. Can you see that? That bearing just fell right out. They were running pretty dry. It doesn't take much to get these old races out or the grease seal. I stick a screwdriver in from this side, and you don't even need a big hammer. I'm using a little body hammer, nice and gentle. Yeah, you can see this bearing was running dry. Alright, next step is to pull these two cotter pins. This one on the top, this one on the bottom. This one on the bottom looks like hay. And we'll pull all three of these bolts off. I got the jack under the A-arm, because when this thing comes loose, that A-arm's going to want to just drop right out the bottom. So, here goes. There's the countries that use the metric system. Then there's the country that's been to the moon and back. So this is frustrating. This is when GM was half and half. So we're still got some SEA and we got some metric. So it's good for the tool manufacturers. You got to buy both sets. Be super careful with these because I got a little interference right at the top. So make sure you go to where this nut gets nice and loose again. And you don't have to hit it hard. Oh, that one came right out. So that came out easy. Sometimes when you get to that very top spot, it just screws the whole deal. You can't get it out, and you got to try and get like needle nose vice grips in there or some shit. Anyway, and then these, you can see, got the castle portion past the upper and lower. Well, the lower just popped. The upper still fooling me. Breaking out the heat. Little heat did the trick. You can see it was pretty dry in there. I might put a thin film of grease and put the new spindle on. But yeah, I had to tighten this one back up because it wouldn't allow me to drop far enough. And then the shock wouldn't allow me to drop far enough. I may also have to take this sway bar bushing off, but that's okay. Dust cover, 13 millimeters. Our bushings. That's that. That's the ball joint. It's still hot from my little torching operation. Putting her back together. She kind of goes back together opposite the way she just came apart. I don't know if you can see this. Try to do a side by side. You can see how much higher that spindle bolt is. Got all the bolts started. Everything's back in place. Make sure that spring, the end of the spring, sits in its notch on this pocket. This is the JDM piece, the lower control arm. But even the factory one has an indent right there. So make sure you get that clocked straight. We're going to replace the three 13 millimeter bolts. Alright, we got our new bearings. The outer bearing is much smaller. This is the inner bearing. There's the replacement race. Here's our grease seal. Here's how we pack a bearing. I don't know any other way of doing this. I've seen people use special press tools. This is the way I was taught. I try not to buy tools unless I have to. You see it oozing out from the top there? That means it's ready. And all I'm doing is taking off a tiny bit at a time and mashing it up through. You'll see it start to ooze out. See it coming up? That goes in. Oh, that sits in there so nice. Then we're gonna get our grease seal in here. Get just a little extra grease down and around that channel. I heard guys pack the entire centers with grease, and I find that that really doesn't help. It's the bearing squeezes the grease out. Nothing, you know, it never squeezes back into the bearings. So extra grease is not extra protection. Just getting it greased the best you can, just like that. And then get your seal on here. Again, it should go most of the way down. Then save your old grease seal to knock that one back in. You could hear the ring change when it gets all the way down in there. Solid, solid. A little bit more. New bearing, freshly greased. New grease seal. Just slide this on here nice and gentle. Gentle. All right. Here's our outer bearing. I'll slide that in. We have this special washer. It's keywayed. And then our castle nut. I just put a little torque on. Wait till I get a little resistance. Oh, feeling it there. And then once you got some resistance, you back it up until you see a hole, which I have on right there. And then I want to recheck that after about 1,000 miles, so after those bearings break in. Make sure I got the seats in all the way, you know. Give it a good thrashing. Come back and check it. And I'll hit all this with brake clean because that's terrible for the rotors. Get all that grease on there. All right. Then we just. All right, reinstalled new cotter pins. So far, only 3 locations. This brake line is super close to the upper ball joint. I bent it down a little bit. And just reinstall the grease cap. All right, next up, calipers. All right, shocks reinstalled. See, the bolts are on the bottom. We want to grease everything while we're here. Clean the little nipple off best you can. Plug in your grease gun. Then we can reinstall the tire. Put it back on the ground.